What's up, everyone? Before I start this video, I just want to say I do not own the copyrights to this music. This belongs to ESPN NFL PRIMETIME. This is their music. I just want to use it for the video because it fits the video. So now that that's out of the way, welcome to the Idiotic Sports Talk. This is episode 181. I'm your host, Liam Gavin, and today we're going to discuss the NFL Week 1 recap. Week 1 is out of the way now, and what a week it's been. You know, this is just the appetizer. This is just the sample of what to come for this season. Let's start with last Thursday's game. The Detroit Lions beat the Kansas City Chiefs 21-20. Jared Goff, 253 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 catches, 71 yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery, 74 rushing yards and a touchdown. As for Chiefs QB, Pat Mahomes, 226 passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also had 48 rushing yards. And the rookie receiver, Rashid Rice, he had a touchdown catch for the night. So the Lions start off with a win. They go on the road to Arrowhead Stadium, a hostile environment. They go against the Super Bowl champs, the defending Super Bowl champs, and they get the win. Their offense got going early. They were passing the ball with ease. They were getting good yardage, good chunks. The Lions' offensive line was looking sharp. Jared Goff had time. He had all day back there. Goff was solid. He didn't turn the ball over at all. The Lions' defense looked very improved in this game. Compared to last year, they definitely looked improved. And I know for the Chiefs, they didn't have Travis Kelce. They didn't have Chris Jones on the defensive side. And you saw the struggles completely. The receivers, there was 2 guys who were supposed to really step up and take the load that Kelce was going to have, and they didn't show up. It was guys like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. They couldn't catch a cold in this game. Sky Moore, he had 3 drops on the night. Kadarius Toney had 5 drops, the biggest being a tip ball off his hands, where the Lions defender got the interception, ran it back for 6. The Chiefs were up 14-7 at that time, and they had the lead in the third quarter, and that completely changed the whole game around. It was a questionable decision, too, what I saw, for the Chiefs to go for it on 4th and 25 from their own 30, when they had 3 timeouts. There was a 2-minute warning left. If I were them, I would have punted, but, you know, I'm not an NFL coach, so Andy Reid, I'm going to trust his judgment over mine. But all I know is that without Kelce, the Chiefs have a terrible receiving group, and they need him back ASAP. So on to the Sunday games. Browns beat the Bengals 24-3. Deshaun Watson, 154 passing, a touchdown, and an interception. He also had 45 rushing yards with a rushing touchdown. Nick Chubb, 106 rushing yards on the day. As for Bengals QB Joe Burrow, very bad performance, 82 passing yards. Joe Mixon had 56 rushing yards. So the Browns get a solid win against their divisional rival. And the Browns offense, they had 360 total yards, with 206 of those yards coming on the ground. The Browns defense completely shut down the Bengals offense. Just last week, Joe Burrow signed a 5-year, $275 million deal. But on Sunday afternoon, he didn't play like he was worth all that much money. He couldn't even throw for over 100 yards in the game. The Bengals offense had 157 total yards, absolutely disgusting. And it makes me wonder if Burrow was healthy, you know, because he still has that lingering calf injury that he suffered back in the summer. But all I know is that the Bengals need him healthy if they want to make another run. Ravens beat the Texans 25-9. Lamar Jackson, 169 passing, no touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. Justice Hill had 2 rushing touchdowns on the day, and the rookie Zay Flowers, 9 catches for 78 yards. As for Texans QB, CJ Stroud, he's also a rookie. He threw for 242. He didn't throw a touchdown or an interception, but he did fumble the ball, and Nico Collins had 6 catches for 80 yards. So the Ravens take care of business with the win against an inferior opponent. Despite Lamar having a bad game, the Ravens offense had 279 yards, and they were able to outrun the Texans 110 yards to 72. The Ravens defense had 5 sacks and a fumble, and despite the fumble, the Texans rookie quarterback CJ Stroud had a pretty decent game. He really didn't look that bad in my opinion, but he didn't really have any help. He doesn't really have a true number 1 receiver. He doesn't really have a good offensive line. But the Texans defense, they really showed up. They had 4 sacks, a forced fumble, an interception, and but you know, their offense couldn't really put anything together. The next game we have is the Bucs beating the Vikings 20-17. Baker Mayfield, 173, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Mike Evans, 6 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. As for Vikings QB Kirk Cousins, 344 passing, 2 touchdowns, interception, and 2 fumbles. Justin Jefferson, 9 catches for 150 yards. So the Bucs, they get an upset on the road against the Vikings. Baker, in his debut as a Buc, he looked great. The Bucs offense had 246 yards. They did not turn the ball over. They started off slow, but they started heating up as the game went on. The Bucs defense had 2 sacks and 3 total turnovers. And the Vikings offense, they had 386 yards, but they failed to run the ball. They just had 42 rushing yards. 3 turnovers killed them, especially the interception Kirk threw in the end zone right before the first half ended. And the Vikings defense was nowhere to be found. Couldn't force a turnover, couldn't get pressure on Baker. And it's either the Vikings are worse than we thought this season, or the Bucs are better than we expected. Next, the Falcons take care of the Panthers 24-10. Desmond Ridder, 115 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. Tyler Algier, 2 rushing touchdowns. And the rookie Bijan Robinson had a receiving touchdown. Speaking of another rookie, the rookie Bryce Young, the Panthers quarterback, had 146 passing, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Hayden Hurst, the tight end, had a touchdown catch. And the Falcons started the season with a win over their division rival. The Falcons offense had 245 yards, no turnovers, and the Falcons run game picked up where they left off from last year. They had 130 rushing yards, and the Falcons defense definitely looked more improved than they did last year. They had 2 sacks, 2 picks, and a fumble, and the Panthers, their offense, they racked up 300 yards with 154 of those yards on the ground. But the 3 turnovers for the Panthers offense is what really hurt them in this game. Bryce Young's first NFL start, it didn't go as planned, but when you throw a rookie to the fire like that, you can kind of expect these things and, a little bit of growing pains, but he'll definitely learn from it. Next, the Commanders beat the Cardinals 20-16. Sam Howell, 202 passing, a touchdown, interception. He had a rushing touchdown and a fumble. Brian Robinson had a receiving touchdown. And as for Josh Dobbs of the Cardinals, he had 132 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but fumbled twice. And as for James Conner, he rushed for 62 yards. So the Commanders, they squeaked one past the Cardinals. It was a very close game. Their offense had 293 yards, but they had 3 total turnovers and almost got the loss because of it. The Commanders' defense had a good game. They had 3 sacks, 2 fumbles, and they were definitely able to get a ton of pressure on Josh Dobbs. As for the Cardinals' offense, they were really bad. They had 228 yards. Josh Dobbs had a very rough day, couldn't throw the ball. He had 2 fumbles in the 4th quarter that basically gave the Commanders the win. And the Cardinals' defense, though, big credit to them. They balled out. They had 6 sacks, an interception, 2 fumbles, one of them being returned for 6. But at the end of the day, their offense could not help them out. And the Cardinals played better than we all thought. They definitely did, If someone told me that this would be a close game, I wouldn't have believed them. Next, the Jags beat the Colts 31-21. Trevor Lawrence, 241 passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Calvin Ridley, 8 catches for 101 and a touchdown. Travis Etienne, 77 rushing yards and a touchdown. The Colts rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson had a touchdown pass, 223 yards, an interception, 40 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. And Michael Pittman Jr., 8 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. So the Jags opened their season with a win over the division rival, Colts, on the road. Their offense was on point. It looked like they did last year, 346 total yards. The addition of Calvin Ridley obviously looks like it's been huge. The run game had 105 yards on the ground and 2 total touchdowns. The Jaguars' defense showed up. They had 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a pick. The Colts offense had 258 yards, but not being able to run the ball and having 3 turnovers, it really hurt them in this game. The Colts defense had 2 sacks, an interception, and a fumble 6. And despite the loss, the Colts played a lot better than most people expected. They definitely showed that they could compete so far in week 1 in my eyes. And they even had a 21-17 lead to start the 4th quarter. Richardson definitely has the potential to be a very good quarterback in this league. Next is the Niners crushing the Steelers 30-7. Brock Purdy, 220 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a fumble. Christian McCaffrey, 152 rushing and a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, 8 catches for 129 and 2 scores. And as for Kenny Pickett of the Steelers, 232 passing, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Allen Robinson, 5 catches for 64 yards. So the Niners destroyed the Steelers, smacked them silly. They were beyond dominant, especially their offense. They had 408 yards with 188 of those yards on the ground. Brock Purdy had a great game. He picked up right where he left off, same along with Brandon Ayuk. And the Niners defense, they toyed with the Steelers offense, 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. Kenny Pickett and the Steelers, their offense was really struggling. They had 271 total yards, but they failed to run the ball with just 41 rushing yards. And the Steelers defense is supposed to be really good, but on Sunday, they were just abysmal. They looked lost out there. People want to write off Kenny Pickett and the Steelers already, but it's only week 1. We got to pump the brakes there, and they played arguably the best team in the league. Next, the Saints beat the Titans 16-15. Derek Carr, 305 passing, a touchdown and interception. Chris Olave, 8 catches for 112. And Rashid Shaheed had 5 catches, 89 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. As for Ryan Tannehill, 198 passing, no touchdowns, 3 picks. DeAndre Hopkins, 7 catches for 65 yards. And Derrick Henry, 63 rushing yards. So Carr gets the win for the Saints in his debut as a Saint. The Saints offense had 374 yards, but their defense came to play. They racked up 3 sacks and 3 interceptions. They held off Tannehill, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, and the Titans offense. And speaking of the Titans offense, they were just terrible to watch. They had 302 yards, but Tannehill had 3 picks. He was absolutely trash out there. They could not score at all. They had to settle for field goals instead of touchdowns. And the Titans defense is still pretty good. They had 4 sacks, a pick, and a fumble, but no help from their offense at all. You know, every time they'd make a play, it's like the offense would go back out there and turn the ball over. The Titans' terrible quarterback situation is most likely going to be their downfall for this season. Next, the Raiders beat the Broncos 17-16. Jimmy G, 200 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Jacoby Myers, 8 catches, 81 yards for 2 scores. Next is Russell Wilson for the Broncos, 177 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Cortland Sutton had a touchdown catch. So Jimmy G, in his Raiders debut, gets the win for his team, for his new team. Raiders offense had 261 yards. Raiders defense, they couldn't force a turnover, but they did a good job by not letting the Broncos offense get going. The Broncos offense wasn't that great, as they had 270 yards. But on the bright side, they didn't turn the ball over like they did last year. And although Russell Wilson only threw for 177, this loss really isn't on him. He didn't turn the ball over and he had a couple touchdowns. An extra point was pretty much the deciding factor of this game that was missed by the kicker Will Lutz, and it could have changed this whole outcome of the game. Next, the Eagles beat the Patriots 25-20. Jalen Hurts, 170 passing. He had a passing touchdown, no interceptions, and a fumble. Devontae Smith had a touchdown catch, and A.J. Brown, 7 catches for 79 yards. As for Mac Jones, 316 passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Kendrick Bourne had 6 catches, 64 yards, and 2 scores. And Hunter Henry, 5 catches, 56 yards, and 1 touchdown. So the Eagles get a nail-biter win on the road in Foxborough. In the torrential downpour, the Eagles offense had 267 yards. They started off very hot. They had a 16-0 lead in the first half, but they started to fizzle out, and they allowed the Patriots back in it. Mac and the Patriots offense, they played really well. They had 392 yards, and after being down 16-0, they made it a 16-14 game at the end of the first half. The Patriots had chances to win this game. They were down 22-14 with just 4.5 minutes left. They failed the 4th and 3. They get the ball back again. They fail another 4th and 2. They just had so many chances in the final 5 minutes to seal this game. But, you know, props to the Eagles defense. They played very well. They did not allow them to convert any of those 4th downs. They were 1 for 4 in the game. And they got a big pick 6 earlier on, which pretty much decided this game. If it's not a pick 6, who knows if the Eagles win? The next game on the slate, the Rams beat the Seahawks 30-13. Matt Stafford, 334 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Kyron Williams had 52 rushing yards and 2 scores. Puka Nacua is a rookie. I hope I didn't just butcher his name, but he had 10 catches for 119. And Tutu Atwell had 6 catches for $119. Geno Smith of the Seahawks, 112 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. DK Metcalf had a touchdown catch. And the Rams pull off the upset on the road against the division rival. Their offense looked great in both passing and rushing the ball, accumulating 426 yards. And even without Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford threw for over 300 yards. And as the rookie receiver and Tutu Atwell completely cooked the Hawks defense, the run game had 92 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Rams. And the Rams defense had 2 sacks, and they didn't allow the offense for the Seahawks to get going. Speaking of the Seahawks offense, they were awful to watch. They had a good first half, but a terrible second half. The second half, Rams outscored them 23-0. Geno only threw for 9 yards in that second half. Seahawks had a whopping 197 yards of offense. Their defense was probably worse than their offense. The secondary got cooked. They had no sacks. They had no QB pressures, no turnovers, and they couldn't get off the field on third down. Next, the Dolphins win the thriller, 36-34 over the Chargers. Tua Tagovailoa, 466 passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 fumble. Tyreek Hill, 11 catches for 215 and 2 scores. Justin Herbert, for the Chargers, threw for 228, a touchdown. And he also had a rushing touchdown as well. Didn't throw an interception or turn the ball over. Austin Eckler ran for 117 and a touchdown. He also had 4 catches for 47 yards. And Josh Kelly had 91 rushing yards and a touchdown. So this game was an absolute shootout. The Finns came up on top. Between both teams, they combined for 1,003 yards in this game. The Dolphins accumulated for 541 of those yards. And Tua and Tyreek Hill balled out completely. Potential to be the best duo in the league right now when it comes to quarterback and wide receiver. They're just absolutely filthy, but they got to stay healthy. And as for the Chargers, they had 462 yards while rushing the ball for 234 yards, while the Dolphins only ran for 70 yards. The Chargers also had 3 rushing touchdowns, while the Dolphins had 1 rushing touchdown. And both defenses were absolutely atrocious. But who would you say was better? The Chargers did have 2 turnovers, but they allowed 500 yards. And when you look at Miami, they did really bad too, but they did come up clutch down the stretch and got their defense off the field on 4th down, stopped Justin Herbert and company. And this could be game of the year. I know it's only week 1, but man, that was absolute thriller. That was fun to watch. It came down to the wire. The next game, Packers beat the Bears 38-20. Jordan Love, 245, 3 scores, no interceptions. Aaron Jones, 41 rushing yards and a touchdown. He also had 86 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. And Romeo Doubs, 2 touchdown catches. As for Justin Fields of the Bears, 216 passing, a touchdown, interception, 59 rushing yards, and a fumble. Darnell Mooney had a touchdown catch. And no matter who the Packers have at quarterback, they'll always own the Bears. Rodgers leaves, gives the Bears ownership to Jordan Love, who played really, really good. The Packers offense had 337 yards, no turnovers. The Packers defense had a game. They had 4 sacks, a pick 6, a fumble, and made the Bears go 3 for 13 on 3rd down. The Bears offense was just absolutely terrible. I mean, they did have 338 yards, but the turnovers are what really hurt them. The Packers were they outran the Packers 112-92. But those turnovers at the end of the day is what costed them, especially the pick 6 threw by Fields in the 4th quarter, which basically sealed the deal. And the Bears could just never beat the Packers. I don't know what it is about them. Next is my Dallas Cowboys stomping the Giants 40-0. Dak Prescott, 143 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Tony Pollard, 70 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. As for Daniel Jones of the Giants, 104 passing, no touchdowns and 2 picks. Saquon Barkley had 51 rushing yards. So the Cowboys go on the road and they lay the smack down on their division rival in the pouring rain. The Cowboys special teams set the tone early. They blocked a field goal kick and returned it for a touchdown. And then the defense follows it up a couple drives later by getting a pick 6. And that was just like that. The game was basically over. The Cowboys offense just had 265 yards, but it didn't matter because their defense was just so good and dominant. The Cowboys also had no turnovers on defense. They ran the ball for 122 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And the Cowboys defense just wreaked havoc. 7 sacks, a fumble, 2 picks, one of them being a pick 6, and just did not allow a single point. This whole new and improved Giants offense was absolutely helpless. They had 218 yards but had 3 turnovers. Their kicker got his kick blocked and then missed the kick. Their offensive line was just absolutely embarrassing. Jones was under pressure the whole time. And this offense was supposed to be good, and I know it's early in this season, but so far, you can't. If you're a Giants fan, you can't like what you saw. All I know is, how about them Cowboys? Because we got a big win to open the season. Final game, Monday night game. Jets beat the Bills 22-16 in overtime. Aaron Rodgers, it's his debut, but just 4 plays in the game, he is sacked and tears his Achilles and is done for the whole season. So in comes Zach Wilson, 140 passing, a touchdown and an interception. Breece Hall has 127 rushing yards, and Garrett Wilson had a wild one-handed TD catch. As for the Bills, Josh Allen, 236 passing. He had 1 touchdown, but he had 3 interceptions and a fumble. Stephon Diggs, 10 catches for 102 and a touchdown. So on a rainy Monday night, the Jets get an epic comeback versus their division rival. Everyone was so excited for Rodgers' debut as a Jet. And what happens? He gets sacked and tears his Achilles right away. And I hope he can recover from this. You know, Achilles injuries are no joke, and it's very hard to come back from, especially that he's basically 40 years old. But, you know, I'm hoping the best for the guy, because I know a lot of Jets fans out there, and they deserve to be happy. You know, they deserve to have a good quarterback. And I just truly believe they're cursed, though. They can never have nice things for some reason. They just never can. It's sad. But don't worry, Jets fans. Your Lord and Savior, Zach Wilson, is going to be the quarterback. He returned, you know, and he did good. It's not like he was awful, but he wasn't great either. He did what he can to get the win. After the Jets were down 13-3 to end the first half, Wilson showed maturity and composure. He led the offense on a field goal drive and then a touchdown drive in the game to tie it 13-13 with 5 minutes remaining in the fourth. And the Jets defense, they create a huge turnover, which leads another offense field goal. And the Jets take a 16-13 lead with just a minute and a half left. But of course, the Bills do their thing. They march all the way downfield. Tyler Bass goes to kick a field goal. It hits the upright, but it bounces right back in and is good. So now we go to overtime. Overtime would start. The Bills get the ball, but they have to go 3 and out and punt. Magic would strike right here as the Jets rookie returner Xavier Gibson returned the punt 66 yards for the game-winning touchdown. And the Jets got a crazy win there. I saw it live. I mean, not in person, but I saw it on TV, and I'm like, man, that was just an awesome win. This game was a ride of emotional waves. The Jets stood tall. Zach Wilson did his thing. Say what you want about him. He definitely showed improvements. Sure, he wasn't good, but he wasn't trash either. He just did what he had to do. And, you know, he was in an uncomfortable situation, and he delivered. The Jets offense ended the night with 312 yards. They ran all over the Bills with 172 rushing yards. They outscored the Bills 19-3 in the second half in overtime, and the Jets deserve a bunch of credit. The Jets were in the game with their defense, with recording 5 sacks, 3 picks, and 1 fumble, and just what a wild win for the New York Jets. But as for the Bills, they had a chance to put the Jets away. The offense had 333 yards, but Allen turned the ball over 4 times. Bills defense had 3 sacks and an interception, but Allen giving the ball back to the Jets really hurt their defense because they had to keep going back on the field. And since 2020, I've been saying Josh Allen is overrated, and I've always got crucified for it. But after Monday night, I think people are starting to open their eyes and start to agree with me, because it's funny. My quarterback, Dak Prescott, last year he had 1 bad year in his career with turnovers, and everyone just won't shut up about it and label him a turnover machine. But since entering the league in 2018, Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers with 82, and nobody seems to bat an eye about it. Last season, he had more turnovers than my QB. It got swept under the rug, and while my QB was getting slandered and made fun of, Allen was getting called an MVP, elite, top 3 QB in the league. But, you know, despite the double standard, it's insane. But I think people are finally starting to agree with me. I've been saying it since 2020. So that's it for the Week 1 recap. Thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on my Instagram page. Do what you can to like, share, and promote my content. Have a great night.